Genesis chapters 29 and 30. And Jacob started and went to the land of the east to Laban, the son of Bethuel the Syrian, and the brother of Rebekah, mother of Jacob and Esau. And he looks, and behold, a well in the plain, and there were 3 flocks of sheep resting at it. For out of that well they watered the flocks. But there was a great stone at the mouth of the well. And there were all the flocks gathered, and they used to roll away the stone from the mouth of the well, and water the flocks, and set the stone again in its place on the mouth of the well. And Jacob said to them, Brethren, whence are ye? And they said, We are of Charan. And he said to them, Know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We do know him. And he said to them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter came with the sheep. And Jacob said, It is yet high day. It is not yet time that the flocks be gathered together. Water ye the flocks, and depart and feed them. And they said, We shall not be able until all the shepherds be gathered together, and they shall roll away the stone from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the flocks. While he was yet speaking to them, behold, Rachel the daughter of Laban came with her father's sheep, and she fed the sheep of her father. And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob came and rolled away the stone from the mouth of the well, and watered the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and cried in a loud voice, and wept. And he told Rachel that he was the near relative of her father, and the son of Rebekah. And she ran and reported to her father according to these words. And it came to pass when Laban heard the name of Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him, and embraced and kissed him, and brought him into his house. And he told Laban all these sayings. And Laban said to him, Thou art my bones and of my flesh. And he was with him a full month. And Laban said to Jacob, Surely thou shalt not serve me for nothing, because thou art my brother. Tell me what thy reward is to be. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger Rachel. And the eyes of Leah were weak, but Rachel was beautiful in appearance, and exceedingly fair in countenance. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve thee 7 years for the younger daughter Rachel. And Laban said to him, It is better that I should give her to thee, than that I should give her to another man. Dwell with me. And Jacob served Rachel 7 years, and they were before him as a few days, by reason of his loving her. And Jacob said to Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go into her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place, and made a marriage feast. And it was even, and he took his daughter Leah, and brought her into Jacob, and Jacob went into her. And Laban gave to his daughter Leah Zilpah his handmaid, as a handmaid for her. And it was morning, and behold, it was Leah. And Jacob said to Laban, What is this that thou hast done to me? Did I not serve thee for Rachel? And wherefore hast thou deceived me? And Laban answered, It is not done thus in our country, to give the younger before the elder. Fulfill then her 7s, and I will give to thee her also in return for thy labor, which thou laborest with me, yet 7 other years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her 7s. And Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to wife. And Laban gave to his daughter his handmaid Bala for a handmaid to her. And he went into Rachel, and he loved Rachel more than Leah. And he served him 7 other years. And when the Lord God saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bore a son to Jacob, and she called his name Reuben, saying, Because the Lord has looked on my humiliation, and has given me a son now, then my husband will love me. And she conceived again, and bore a second son to Jacob. And she said, Because the Lord has heard that I am hated, he has given to me this one also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived yet again, and bore a son, and said, In the present time my husband will be with me, for I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore she called his name Levi. And having conceived yet again, she bore a son, and said, Now yet again, this time will I give thanks to the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah, and ceased bearing. And Rachel, having perceived that she bore Jacob no children, was jealous of her sister, and said to Jacob, Give me children, and if not, I shall die. And Jacob was angry with Rachel, and said to her, Am I in the place of God, who has deprived thee of the fruit of thy womb? And Rachel said to Jacob, Behold, my handmaid Bala, go into her, and she shall bear children upon my knees, and I also shall have children by her. And she gave him Bala her maid, for a wife to him, and Jacob went into her. And Bala, Rachel's maid, conceived, and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God has given judgment for me, and hearkened to my voice, and has given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. And Bala, Rachel's maid, conceived yet again, and bore a second son to Jacob. And Rachel said, God has helped me, and I contended with my sister, and prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. And Leah saw that she ceased from bearing, and she took Zilpah her maid, and gave her to Jacob for a wife. And he went into her. And Zilpah the maid of Leah conceived, and bore Jacob a son. And Leah said, It is happily, and she called his name Gad. And Zilpah the maid of Leah conceived yet again, and bore Jacob a second son. And Leah said, I am blessed, for the women will pronounce me blessed. And she called his name Aser. And Reuben went in the day of the barley harvest, and found apples of mandrakes in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. And Rachel said to Leah her sister, Give me of thy son's mandrakes. And Leah said, Is it not enough for thee that thou hast taken my husband? Wilt thou also take my son's mandrakes? And Rachel said, Not so. Let him lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came in out of the field at even, and Leah went forth to meet him, and said, Thou shalt come in to me this day, for I have hired thee for my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And God hearkened to Leah, and she conceived, and bore Jacob a fifth son. And Leah said, God has given me my reward, because I gave my maid to my husband. And she called his name Issachar, which is reward. And Leah conceived again, and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, God has given me a good gift in this time. My husband will choose me, for I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zabulon. And after this she bore a daughter, and she called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her. And he opened her womb, and she conceived, and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, saying, Let God add to me another son. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, Send me away, that I may go to my place and to my land. Restore my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, that I may depart, for thou knowest the service wherewith I have served thee. And Laban said to him, If I have found grace in thy sight, I would augur well, for the Lord has blessed me at thy coming in. Appoint me the wages, and I will give them. And Jacob said, Thou knowest in what things I have served thee, and how many cattle of thine are with me. For it was little thou hadst before my time, and it is increased to a multitude. And the Lord God has blessed thee, since my coming. Now then, when shall I set up also my own house? And Laban said to him, What shall I give thee? And Jacob said to him, Thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again tend to thy flocks and keep them. Let all thy sheep pass by today, and separate thence every grey sheep among the rams, and every one that is speckled and spotted among the goats. This shall be my reward. My righteousness shall answer for me on the morrow, for it is my reward before thee. Whatever shall not be spotted and speckled among the goats, and grey among the rams, shall be stolen with me. And Laban said to him, Let it be according to thy word. And he separated in that day the spotted and speckled he-goats, and all the spotted and speckled she-goats, and all that was grey among the rams, and every one that was white among them, and he gave them into the hand of his sons. And he set a distance of 3 days' journey between them and Jacob. And Jacob tended the cattle of Laban that were left behind. And Jacob took to himself green rods of storax tree, and walnut and plane tree. And Jacob peeled in them white stripes. And as he drew off the green, the white stripe which he had made appeared alternate on the rods. And he laid the rods which he had peeled in the hollows of the watering troughs, that whensoever the cattle should come to drink, as they should have come to drink before the rods, the cattle might conceive at the rods. So the cattle conceived at the rods, and the cattle brought forth young speckled and streaked and spotted and ash-colored spots. And Jacob separated the lambs, and set before the sheep a speckled ram, and every variegated one among the lambs. And he separated flocks for himself alone, and did not mingle with them with the sheep of Laban. And it came to pass in time wherein the cattle became pregnant, conceiving in the belly, Jacob put the rods before the cattle in the troughs, that they might conceive by the rods. But he did not put them indiscriminately whenever the cattle happened to bring forth. But the unmarked ones were Laban's, and the marked ones Jacob's. And the man became very rich, and he had many cattle, and oxen, and servants, and maidservants, and camels, and asses. Psalms 12 and 13, 13 and 14 in Hebrew. For the end, a psalm of David. How long, O Lord, wilt thou forget me forever? How long wilt thou turn away thy face from me? How long shall I take counsel in my soul, having sorrows in my heart daily? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Look on me, hearken to me, O Lord my God. Lighten mine eyes, lest I sleep in death, lest at any time mine enemy say, I prevailed against him. My persecutors will exult if ever I should be moved. But I have hoped in thy mercy. My heart shall exult in thy salvation. I will sing to the Lord who has dealt bountifully with me, and I will sing psalms to the name of the Lord Most High. Psalm 13, 14 in Hebrew. For the end, a psalm of David. The fool has said in his heart, There is no God. They have corrupted themselves and become abominable in their devices. There is none that does goodness. There is not even so much as one. The Lord looked down from heaven upon the sons of men, to see if there were any that understood, or sought after God. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become good for nothing. There is none that does good. No, not one. Their throat is an open sepulchre. With their tongues they have used deceit. The poison of asps is under their lips, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in their ways, and the way of peace they have not known. There is no fear of God before their eyes. Will not all the workers of iniquity know, who eat up my people as they would eat bread? They have not called upon the Lord. There were they alarmed with fear, where there was no fear, for God is in the righteous generation. Ye have shamed the counsel of the poor, because the Lord is his hope. Who will bring the salvation of Israel out of Sion? When the Lord brings back the captivity of his people, let Jacob exult, and let Israel be glad. Proverbs chapter 2, verses 10 through 16a. For if wisdom shall come into thine understanding, and discernment shall seem pleasing to thy soul, good counsel shall guard thee, and holy understanding shall keep thee, to deliver thee from the evil way, and from the man that speaks nothing faithfully. Alas for those who forsake right paths, to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice in evils, and delight in wicked perverseness, whose paths are crooked, and their courses winding, to remove thee far from the straight way, and to estrange thee from a righteous purpose. The Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 8, verses 1 through 17. When he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. And behold, there came a leper, and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus saith unto him, See thou tell no man, but go thy way, show thyself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded, for a testimony unto them. And when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion beseeching him, and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Jesus saith unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that thou shouldest come under my roof, but speak the word only, my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, Go, and he goeth, and to another, Come, and he cometh, and to my servant, Do this, and he doeth it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled, and said to them that followed, Verily, I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And I say unto you, that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham, and Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the children of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And Jesus said unto the centurion, Go thy way, as thou hast believed, so be done unto thee. And the servant was healed in the selfsame hour. And when Jesus was come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid, and sick of a fever. And he touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she arose and ministered unto them. When the even was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with devils, and he cast out the spirits with his word, and healed all that were sick, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, Himself took our infirmities, and bare our sicknesses.